Hey everyone, it's Jessica here with another layout for the ThermOWeb design team. Today I've got a really fun technique for you, which is foiling on your title, which I like to call foil dipped. I'm using this sketch from 30 Days of Sketches by Jackie Scrap, so thank you Jackie for the inspiration today. And I am using this title that I made on my Cricut just with a font on my computer, and I started with some ink blending on it with some bundled Sage Distress Oxide. Now if you're going to do any ink blending, you have to wait for the ink to dry before you do this technique, which I am super impatient and I don't always wait long enough. So that's one of the cases here today. I'm going to use some clear embossing powder and some Versamark ink along with a stamp that looks like kind of like a grungy paint splotch. And I'm using that with the Versamark ink and then applying my powder on here, which is just my clear embossing powder. Now, because I didn't wait long enough for my ink to dry, it actually went over top of my ink some as well. But I'm not too worried about it. You can actually do the ink blending after you foil and then just wipe it off of the foil. So if you want to do it that way, that works too. So I'm just going back in here. I'm kind of trying to use my hand to cover up some of the top part of the ink, but it's fine. I'm just going to roll with it and see how it turns out. I've got my laminator here. I like to use the Fuse laminating system by G&K Designs. It's small and fits on my desk really nicely. So I'm going to pull that over here and get it heating up. But first I need to activate my embossing powder. So to do that, I drag my heat tool over here to my desk and I am just using that to heat up that embossing powder to actually make it kind of a shiny texture. That is what our foil is actually going to stick to. Now, another little tip for you, make sure you, again, let this dry and cool down. That is the main part of this. You need to make sure that it's nice and cool, because if it's still warm when you run this through your hot laminating machine, it's not going to give you a smooth application of the foil like it should. It's going to kind of reactivate it almost and kind of make it smush out. So again, I did not wait long enough to do that because I'm a super impatient person when it comes to things. So I didn't wait long enough. I should have waited just like a minute or two to let that embossing powder and the finished results kind of cool down. So you'll see what I mean here. This is what happens when you don't let that cool down. It kind of missed a little bit there on some of the letters, but you know what? It's perfectly fine. I'm going to go ahead back in here and I'm just going to reactivate this by just stamping it again. I was trying to avoid stamping it again because I've already put my stamp set away at this point and cleaned up that part of my desk. So I had to go and get it back out. I tried to use my stamp pad here, as you can see, because it's just those little bits in the middle that it missed. And honestly, that probably could have been prevented if I would have used a cardstock shim under it so that it didn't wrinkle under that craft and carrier sheet when I ran it through my laminator. So it's kind of two things that were my fault. I didn't wait long enough for it to cool off, and then I also didn't use a cardstock piece of paper underneath this to kind of give it a nice shim to make it stay nice and flat when I ran it through here. So I like to use those craft and carrier sheets to run through my laminator. These are the smaller size that fit very well in this machine. And you can see the second time I ran it through, it worked perfectly fine and it looks a lot better now. But just those few little tips if you're going to try this, to just make sure you let it cool off before you run it through, and then just use a cardstock shim underneath whenever you have small pieces like this. I'm going to use some easy tear tape for the back of my photo to mat it to some white cardstock here. I like the 1/2 inch size, and I also have one of the smaller sizes too, but there's 3 sizes of the easy tear tape, but the 1/2 inch size is definitely my favorite. I've got this pre-made mixed media paper by Vicki Boutin that I've pulled out today, so my background's already good to go. And I have some scraps here from I think it's the Wherever collection by 49 Market, just some scraps from it. And I'm just pulling out those scraps, and I ran one through with my Fringe die here and my Big Shot machine to cut those little fringe scallops at the bottom to go along with the scallops on the sketch that I'm using today. And then I also cut out a second cut file here for Farm, so that I would have a nice kind of double cut file so that it would have a nice little outline. And I'm just going to adhere these two layers together using the mixed media adhesive. That has quickly become one of my favorite kind of liquid adhesives because it just works really nicely. It goes on very smooth and it dries clear, and you can adhere different textures together so it bonds any porous to porous surface or any porous to non-porous surface. So it works on a lot of things, and I really, really like using it. And it also works really well to adhere sequins to layouts too. So I'm going to use that again all over this layout. You'll see me use it here with this lace trim and then get it all over my desk because I wasn't thinking about it going through the trim whenever I pressed down on it. So you'll see me make a mess of my desk here in a minute. I'm going to pull out some 49 and Market goodies on this as far as these little laser cuts here. These are from the Art Options Spice collection. So I was just using little bits and pieces that matched with this layout, kind of mixing blues and greens together. And I used a little compass die there in the middle for one of the circle elements from the sketch. That little compass die is from Hey Little Magpie. It's one of my favorites. I really love using it on like travel layouts. This one is just an outdoorsy kind of layout. There you can see the mess I made on my desk. I just wiped it up with a wipey quick. And it wipes up really easily. That's another thing I love about that glue. You can clean it up very easily if you do make a mess. I'm just going to put a little bit more on the back side of that so I can adhere this down to my layout. I've got some little frames there that I'm using behind my photo for another little cute layer. And then my title here is actually going to say Farm Raised because this is a photo of my son on our farm when we were baling hay. Our farm that we are going to be living on is about 55 acres, somewhere in there, 55, 56, something like that. And we bale hay on it. We have cows now there, and we have chickens and all kinds of things. So we currently do not live there, but we are renovating the house and completely gutting it so we can live there. We live about a mile from the farm right now. So we're always there in the summer regardless. And we were baling hay, and my son just kind of sat down in it, and we were just watching the tractors go around on the farm and just kind of chilling in the hay and just having a good time. And yeah, so I'm just gonna continue layering up all of these embellishments. I've got my little scallops down here. This is one of my favorite little scallop dies. It's by Fawn, but it's got this like fringed edge, so you can kind of pull them up off the paper and it looks super cute. And I really like layering them across my papers too. It looks really, really fun whenever you layer a whole bunch of patterns and use them. I've got some tickets here that I'm tucking in. Those are by 49 and Market as well. Just kind of grabbing anything that I can find in my stash here nearby that kind of goes with this color scheme and just mixing and matching things together. I love these leaves. I need about 100 of these in like all different colors because I just love adding leaves to all of my pages. It seems like leaves always go with our adventures and like camping and just all the outdoorsy things that we tend to do. So I need like a ton of them, or I need to get a die that looks exactly like that because I love it and I use it so much. I'm going to go ahead and stick this farm title down, and then I'm going to grab some alphas from my stash and add the raised word to the bottom. I think I'm going to grab some black alphas, and I think they're the Luna alphas by Bella Boulevard if I remember right, but I'll grab those here in a second. I'm layering all of these goodies on here as well as this cute little tractor because that's what we were doing. We were sitting in the hay and we were watching the John Deere tractor run around the farm, and we also have a Montana one, but they're both green, so we were watching those go around the farm. And honestly, I don't want to even admit how many tractors we actually have on the farm. It's ridiculous, but you know, when one breaks, you can just kind of swap out and use another one. You don't have to worry about fixing it right on time. So that's what my husband tells me anyways. I think he just says that to make it sound good so that he can keep buying tractors, but we're not going to talk about it. I have these cute little dies by Hey Little Magpie that look like hay or like wheat or oats. So I thought that would be just perfect to just tuck a few of those up in here to just add to my layering here on this side and go along with that sketch design. I've also ran another die here. It's a little binder clip. That one is by Bramble Fox. and it came in like a little office kind of border or office die set that I have, and it's really cute. I like to use that one a lot. And then I've got some little chippies here from 49 Market that I'm going to add my little wordy bits like the journaling on that sketch. And then here are my little Luna alphas coming in. They're just black, and I grabbed those from the Cherry on Top shop. So I'll try to find the link for those and link that below. And I'll link anything else that I've used too down below in the description in case you want to grab anything from any of the shops. But I just love the way that this title turned out. This foil dip title that's one of my favorite techniques right now to do with foil, and just something just small and kind of quick and easy that you can do in your scrapbook layouts with foil. And it's just really super fun, and it just adds a little something to your titles, and it's just really cool, and it makes it shiny and pretty, and I just love the way that it turns out. So here's my little chippies. That's going to be considered like my journaling on this layout because the sketch had some journaling on it. And I'm just adding these little word phrases at the bottom here, again with that mixed media adhesive. And I've got a couple little clouds here that I'm going to add on. Now these are fabric clouds. It is kind of hard to find a nice liquid glue or any glue to hold down these little fabric clouds. I dropped one on my photo, but luckily it came right off and you can't even tell. But anyways, it's hard to find a good adhesive to adhere those little fabric like stars and fabric clouds like this down to your layout, but that mixed media glue works so well for it. But anything else, I usually have to use a couple coats and try to put it on a couple times, but with that, it just sticks right down and I don't have any problems with it. Now this tractor didn't want to stick with that wax. It's like a wax twine. It didn't want to stick down with that behind it. So I ended up adding some glue there behind that as well. Then I'm just going to use my stapler to staple down the tail on the bottom down here. And that's pretty much going to do it for this one. This is what the finished result looks like. I hope you guys enjoy this process today. I hope you're creating something fun, and I hope that I have inspired you to try this foiling title. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.